This video is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika. Get ready to smile.
Hello, baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Well, hey everybody, and thank you for tuning in to Braves on Deck. The Atlanta Braves offseason is expected to be busy, rightfully so, with a new manager in tow as well as a brand new coaching staff. I would expect a lot of changes are to come. One change that I think is imminent is shortstop, and some would argue that the Braves shortstop position has been kind of floundering over the past couple of seasons, really much more in 2025. Of course, Nick Allen covered quite a bit of the year. Light hitting shortstop, didn't perform much offensively, had a great glove, but just did not have it offensively. They go out and get Ha-Seong Kim for the remainder of the season. He performs fairly well, but again, he goes and tests free agency. So the Braves are once again kind of left without a shortstop. So today, I want to kind of talk about some of the candidates that are out there, some of the ideas I've heard from you guys, give my thoughts on them. Some are going to be a little wilder than others, so buckle up, but we'll see where we go. So let's go ahead and start with the internal options, which these are going to be the least exciting on this list. Nick Allen is an option, whether you like it or not. He is an option. Again, light hitting shortstop. He was never expected to be much more than that. He was always going to be the 9-hole guy, always going to be, if he gets on base, great. But the real get with Nick Allen is his glove. But I don't believe that he will be back, not as the starter. He may be a utility infielder. I think that's probably the role that suits him best. Nick Allen is kind of a throwback. He's kind of a 1970s and 80s shortstop prior to Cal Ripken. Not a lot of offense, but a really good glove. And I think as a utility infielder, the defensive ability will go a long way. But ultimately, I don't think he's going to be the starting shortstop because the Braves know that's not their guy. If you look literally this season, the Braves made an upgrade at that position while Nick Allen was the starting shortstop. So I don't think that is going to happen. On a likely meter, I got him at a 2.5 out of 10. I really don't think the Braves are going to go from there. But we'll see. The other internal option, you could argue he's not an internal option, but for the sake of this argument, we're going with an internal option. He was on the team last year. Of course, I'm talking about Ha-Seong Kim. The Braves went and got him on waivers on September 1st, and he really did have a solid stretch with the Braves offensively. 5 homers, 234 batting average, and OPS of 649. Definitely has the advantage offensively over Nick Allen, no question there, and all in all, pretty affordable when you look at where he's at. But he is testing free agency in a year where it's a really crowded field. Every free agent shortstop is probably going to get more this year than they would last year or next year. It's just the very limited amount of free agent shortstops, which it is a pretty limited position anyway. But there's not a lot of guys available specifically this year that are 5-tool players and really a person you want to invest in for the long haul. The other component here with Kim is that he is represented by Scott Boras. That is not a deal breaker, as a lot of people suggest with the Braves. It's not a situation where the Braves just won't talk. And the reason we know that is because they have before. Dallas Keuchel in 2019 was represented by Scott Boras. The Braves were able to get him fairly affordable for 1 year, and I think they could possibly do that here. The only concern I have is with the limited amount of free agents, Ha-Seong Kim kind of has all the leverage there. If you want me, you're going to have to pay me. Estimates right now for his services would be looking for a contract around 2 years at $16 million a year. I am not opposed to that if you can get him for that. The only thing I would have to say is, how is that going to go down in negotiations? If you're trying to get a premium on it because there's not a lot of other guys available, then I don't know if I'm interested, which leaves the Braves kind of in a situation where do you pay it or do you not? And it's not a fun situation to be in. If you can get Kim for $16 million a year, I think that's worth it. He has had some injury problems, but who hasn't, these days? I would say ultimately, if you can solidify the shortstop position, Ha-Seong Kim is probably the most affordable option in the free agency market that is going to solve your problems. On a likely meter, I got him at 8 out of 10. I think he is the most likely candidate here because the Braves do know him. The Braves do. They did like what they saw last year. They are interested. He's interested in coming back to Atlanta. But a lot of people have said that over the years, and I just don't know that that's really going to matter. So that's your internal options. Nick Allen and Ha-Seong Kim. If you're going to go with an internal option, I think it has to be Ha-Seong Kim.
For work or play, it's Glenn Smith Chevrolet, Silverado and Colorado's. Ready to roll for November. Get going in a powerful new full-size Chevrolet Silverado with discounts over $15,000 off. Test drive the mid-size Chevy Colorados. Big performance and big discounts up to $6,500 off. People from all over the USA are coming to Glenn Smith Chevrolet. Get ready to drive and get ready to smile.
If you're not going to go with an internal option, of course, you have to go with an external option. And that's where things kind of get exciting and interesting. We don't get to play general manager all too often, but today we're going to do that. We're going to tell you kind of what we're thinking on some of the free agents out there and give you realistic expectations for what you're expecting. And again, playing general manager, if you've ever played video games, you know it's a pretty fun thing to do. Well, we're going to do it in real life. The first external contestant we're going to go with is Bo Bichette. I've talked about Bo Bichette on the channel before. I've said that he needs to be in your list for potential shortstops for the Braves for this season. I have since kind of done further research, and I still think he's on the list. I don't know that I'm necessarily buying in for the top candidate, but I do think he should be on your list. He did just play in the World Series, and last season he had a .311 average with an OPS of 840. Compared to Ha-Seong Kim, he's an upgrade from that. I mean, he would solve your problems offensively. I have no doubt there. But this idea does come with some concerns, primarily on defense. Bichette is coming off a season where he was ranked near the bottom of qualified shortstops for defensive run saves, -12. He was not a positive defender. And I don't know that that's necessarily a deal breaker because it could always improve. Of course, he battled some injuries last year, but it's not an isolated problem. 2025 is not the only season that this has happened. He also went negative in defensive runs saved in 24 as well as 2022, where I believe he had -16 on defensive runs saved. He's undoubtedly a great talent at the plate, and I think at times he shows defensive excellence. I think it very well could happen. It's just tough for me to say, yep, that's our guy when you look at the defensive stat sheet. The other thing I would say is the Braves could use that to maybe get him a little cheaper. You know, coming off of injury, you maybe can get him for less years, less money. The Braves can use that to negotiate. Either way, I think Bo Bichette is more likely going to get paid and could very well be out of the Braves' price range anyway. If only the Braves could get Bo Bichette and Nick Allen in the same player. You could have a really good glove and a really good bat in the same player. And unfortunately, a player like that right now is not available in the free agent market. It's really limited. Unless you were to trade for one. This is the first trade that we are presenting. It's going to be a little crazy. Bear with me. We're going with Corey Seager, and I know a lot of you either just got excited or you just turned the channel, and I don't necessarily blame you, but this is something I've been hearing from a lot of fans. A lot of fans are saying the Braves need to go get Corey Seager. I don't necessarily disagree with it in the sense that Corey Seager is one of the best players in the game. He's probably one of the best shortstops in the game. If you can get him, it'd be great. I'm not saying it wouldn't be. Here's what I would say. He is already a two-time World Series champion and World Series MVP. He's done it all. He's a 5-time All-Star, 3 Silver Sluggers. He's excellent on defense. The problem here with Seager is his contract. He is signed long-term which is up the Braves' alley, but he signed at $325 million. On average, you're looking at $32.5 million. That may not sound like a lot in this climate of baseball and spending, but it's a lot for Atlanta. And the reason I say that, it's not that Atlanta couldn't do it. I think they more than likely could, especially being below the luxury tax, especially when you hear Terry McGurk talk about being one of the top 5 payrolls. It could happen, but when you look at the contracts on the Braves, Austin Riley currently has the distinction of having the overall contract that costs the most money on the Braves, okay? Corey Seager definitely could get more. I think he's arguably a better player, certainly has more on the resume. The thing I would say is he worth over $100 million over Austin Riley across the same amount of years? I don't know. Matt Olson also. I just don't know that that's going to be the case. $10 million more a year for a player when 2 of your best on the team, 2 of your best hitters, 2 of your team leaders are making $10 million less. I just don't know if it'll happen. I don't know that that's the way the Braves are going to want to go. If they can get him and they can get Texas to pay some of it, maybe I'm blowing smoke, but I just don't know that this is necessarily up the Braves' alley. I think it's interesting if the Rangers want to let him go. I think it's very interesting. It would definitely shore up the shortstop position. I just have my doubts in the Braves wanting to spend that. That'd be what I would say. On a likely meter, I got this at 1.5 out of 10. I just don't think that the Braves are going to do it, and a lot would have to happen to make it happen.
Glenn Smith's closing out the year is here. Get massive savings on GMC Sierras and Canyons. Full-size GMC Sierras, almost $15,000 off. GMC Canyons, over $5,000 off. Or take advantage of 0% financing. Plus, no payments until March of next year. Now is the time for end-of-year savings at Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika. Get ready to smile.
So Corey Seager may be a little too high of a price to pay for the Atlanta Braves, if I had to guess. That said, it's always fun to think about the possibilities, but if you want to be back down to earth, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is one that could be a reasonable selection for the Atlanta Braves. He's fresh off of competing for the World Series. He did not light it up offensively, but he did show solid defensive work. In fact, we mentioned Bo Bichette. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa was playing shortstop over Bichette due to Bichette having the injuries this past season. He had a fielding percentage of .968 throughout the postseason, a defensive WAR of 1.1. He is not a superstar. Let me get that out. He is not a superstar. He's not going to make you go, oh, yes, please, can we get this guy? But he is solid. He's just not extremely powerful, which a lot of you guys out there have kind of said over the years that the Braves don't necessarily need everybody hitting homers. They need some guys that can get on base. Kiner-Falefa can do that. He's got a .262 average, .334 on base, only 2 homers, but again, he's a consistent hitter. He is not the best on the market, but he would give you complete defense and consistently get on base, which I think could be pretty solid for the Braves. He is also likely pretty affordable. Even with the World Series markup, I think he'd be pretty affordable. His last deal was for 2 years with Toronto for $15 million. That kind of sounds right up Alex Anthopoulos' alley. An under-the-radar deal solves the problem without spending a ton of cash. The only concern I have is Kiner-Falefa has kind of moved around a lot over the past couple of years. He's yet to really find a home. That's not to say he couldn't find one in Atlanta, but I just don't know that he's been consistent enough over the past couple of years, even with the numbers the way they are. I'd be curious to see what the Braves would offer him and what he would take. He is coming off a World Series year, though his team did not win. That always kind of makes him a little bit worth a little more in the market. I have him at 7 out of 10 on the likely meter, just below Ha-Seong Kim, primarily because Ha-Seong Kim has already been in the door with Atlanta. The Braves don't have to start that conversation necessarily. With Kiner-Falefa, they have to reach out, as does he, and make that happen. So I got him just a tick below Ha-Seong Kim, but he is still pretty high on the likely meter. Our next idea here, if you weren't excited about Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, I don't know if you're going to be excited about this, but you may be intrigued. And this one's kind of out there. Tim Anderson. Yeah, I can hear you through the phone. Tyler, what are you talking about? What are we doing? Look, I can't really believe I'm suggesting this either. However, a case could be made that Tim Anderson could fit in Atlanta. At any other time, I don't know that I would give this the time of day, to be honest with you. Tim Anderson's had quite a bit of problems, whether it's fighting Jose Ramirez a few years ago, whether it's just his overall play going down. It's been a rough stretch for him. But in a year like this, with limitations at the shortstop position, could the Braves potentially give Tim Anderson a one-year contract and a chance at a change of scenery? There is precedent for this. If you remember back in 2019, the Braves gave Dallas Keuchel a change of scenery. They gave Josh Donaldson a change of scenery, one of which took it and ran with it. The other kind of struggled with it. But either way, the Braves took a chance in defense of Tim Anderson. It's not like he's playing with the 27 Yankees. This is the Chicago White Sox we're talking about. This is the Angels we're talking about. It's not exactly the best teams out there. And I think playing on a team that is competitive and a team, frankly, with good clubhouse culture could help him. Do I think it'll happen? Not really. Do I think it could? Crazier things have happened. On a likely meter, I'm going 2 out of 10. And another free agent that we have to talk about. If you didn't like the Tim Anderson idea, you're really going to hate this one. Orlando Arcia. We talked about him a little bit early in the video. Now we're bringing it back full circle. Orlando Arcia is a free agent out there. He is available. I know that a lot of Braves fans are going to hate that if it happens. I don't necessarily disagree with you, but it could happen. It's not unforeseeable. In a year like this that does have so many limited shortstops available, a guy like Arcia that you could pay next to nothing for this year, push it back another year and get you through, maybe even just to the trade deadline, could be, a case for bringing him back. Again, not the best shortstop that the Braves have ever had, but not the worst. This is a guy who could fill the need for the time being and get you where you need to be for next year. Again, I also would say that he's not fully to blame for his performances over the past couple of seasons. 2024, he was unprotected in the lineup. 2025, probably trying to do too much because of the downtick of 24. Also, he was having the same kind of problems within the lineup. He wasn't protected. And again, that's not necessarily a positive here. I'm just saying there is a world in my eyes where Orlando Arcia could work with the Braves. It could happen. I just don't know that they're going to do it this year. I do have it a little high on the likely meter at 6 out of 10, and here's why. Orlando Arcia is not the guy we're going out to get. That's not our target, but it could be a nice backup for if something else doesn't work out. If everybody else is astronomically too high, I think Arcia could come back to the Braves for 1 year at $2 million, $3 million, and we would take that. And, in a year like this with so much competition at attaining shortstop, that's not a bad fallback to have. Although I don't think it's going to be popular with the fans. I don't expect it to be. It's not really popular with me. I'd like the Braves to go out and get somebody just as much as anything. But Arcia could be a thing where we just turn back to it in a time of need. But we'll have to wait and see. With the shortstop concerns, we actually have found out in the past 24 hours from Mark Bowman on Twitter, basically saying that the Braves have already reached out to the Astros potentially for a trade. They're exploring both the free agency markets as well as the trade market. Here's what I'll say. They've reached out to the Astros, but Mauricio Dubon, a really solid defender, light-hitting shortstop. I don't know that he's necessarily going to be the bat that we all were hoping for or the bat that we were assuming that the Braves would try to go out and find. To me, that kind of eliminates some of your higher-spending candidates, the Bo Bichette's, the Corey Seagers, that kind of thing. I don't think they're going to go for anything like that. That brings us kind of back down to earth. I still think Ha-Seong Kim is likely the best candidate for the Braves. It gives you both offense and defense and shouldn't cost that much. in a normal year, but this season it is tough to tell. The Braves have a lot of decisions to make. Not only shortstop, they have if they want to add a DH with losing Marcell Ozuna to free agency, if they want to bring Ozuna back, if they have a lot to decide there just in the lineup, not to mention the bullpen, not to mention if they want to go get a couple of starters, if they want to depend on who all is coming back. They have a lot of decisions to make. I'm sure we're going to find them out over the next couple of weeks to months. But if you enjoy speculation on the Atlanta Braves or just baseball in general, if you enjoy baseball videos, Braves content, please do us a favor. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck. And we'll see you later.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.